Welcome back, Tribe. Have one here from CBS News. Have one here saying nearly half of Gen X says they'll need a miracle to retire. I think every American feels like they'll need a miracle to retire at this point.
This year, the oldest members of Generation X are turning 59, and that means they can start withdrawing retirement assets without penalty. But many feel unprepared to begin retirement. According to investment bank Natixis, the average retirement savings of Gen X households is about $150,000. Wow, that's far from the $1.5 million Americans say they need to retire comfortably. Almost half of the people in the study said that it would take a miracle for them to be able to retire. So for more on this, we're joined by CBS News contributor Javier David. He's a journalist who covers global finance. I mean, it's not surprising. I feel like Gen X is like the first kind of generation where people didn't have access to pensions. Like pensions were kind of going out the door, and then it was up to you to invest in your retirement fund. And I don't know about you guys, but I know in my 20s, I was like, are you kidding me? I need every tiny cent that I'm making just to survive.
Exactly.
And for retirement, it seems like, a light years away. So why are Gen Xers worried that they won't be able to afford it?
A number of reasons, but two in particular. Just middle age and the cost of living, all of which is being driven or influenced by fear of the future. Like reality really does bite since we're all Gen Xers here.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, 1 million was said to be like the magic number for you to be able to retire or have in your retirement account. And those numbers that you just showed, that's not even remotely close to a million.
A million's not even enough today with inflation and debasement of the dollar. Guys, it's gotten so much worse. I did a video, it'll pop up at the end of the channel, but if you go to the second one, I'm walking and talking around Bucharest, and I literally said why the new American dream, or the American dream in general, is to leave America. It specifically talks why a pensioner, why someone that's retired should get out. The cost of living differences is mind-blowing, and the quality of life is insane. But I wonder what's going to happen for my generation, for millennials and Gen Zs. How the hell are you going to retire when we're all scraping by? We can't even afford to start. We can't even afford to buy a house. These people Gen X barely managed to save up for a house. And then all they got through a lifetime of work is an average of like $150,000 in the bank. How the hell are you going to retire with $150,000 with the price of groceries today, utilities, transportation, whatever it is? You want to live on bread and water for the remainder of your days? Dude, that is so far short of the $1 million that you need to live comfortably. This is like a leading indicator of just how catastrophic this is going to be for Gen Z and millennials. Guys, we're screwed. Your only option is literally, after breaking your back, going to work nonstop, barely saving anything, if you can't even save any money, is you got to take that $150K, or if you manage to save anything at all, go overseas. Go overseas. You can stretch out $150,000 in Thailand for the rest of your days. There's absolutely no way in hell you can get by with $150.
We're also the first generation to hear repeatedly that Social Security was going bust. It wasn't going to be around when we were ready to retire. We needed to be ready. And a lot of us are just waking up and realizing we're not ready.
So as Emery was pointing out, I mean, this is the first generation. And I love how the producer who wrote the segment up said they are the first generation. We are.
Forgotten generation, right? No one ever pays attention to us.
We are the first generation of U.S. workers to live your entire working life with 401k plans instead of traditional pensions. 401k plans were seen as a better option when they were sort of created. How has that worked out for our generation?
So 401k, the best way to think about it, it's funded and controlled by you, and then your employer might add or match your whatever the allocation is. The pension was funded and controlled by your employer. So in order to maximize the benefit, it really meant that you had to stay tied to one job for a very long time in order to get all of the money. So the 401k is a lot more variable. It's not more subject to market forces. The pension was a defined benefit, a guarantee, and an annuity that you're going to get a fixed amount. It makes it easier for you to war game your cost of living, because it's basically kind of like at on par, close to what you were making. But there was a reason why they fell out of favor, because they were just really, really expensive for the employer. So we started moving away from, the employer saying, we're going to take care of this, and you need to take care of this yourself. But a lot of us, as we're having the segment, are realizing we haven't necessarily done a great job of doing that.
So are there any aspects of retirement that are out of workers' control? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it's just prices, cost of living. And I think, speaking as someone who has a parent who is retired and was, living on a fixed income, you get there and you realize that it's just so expensive. And you're not even talking about the healthcare costs. Just being old, like there's that old saying of, if you would try living in America is expensive, try getting older. Try because in part, there are so many things coming at you. You can't predict your health. You can't control the cost of gas. You can't control the cost of food.
And that's so true, man. Like health is wealth. So even with the 150K, or if you have more than that, if you have any health issues in your older years, which increasingly most Americans do, due to our way of life, retirement for you is going to be hell. There are stories of Americans that are retired living so tight that they can't afford to pay the property taxes on their homes that they bought. And because property values have skyrocketed, those new taxes a year are eating into your ability to live. And these people have fallen behind on their property taxes, and the state came and took their homes, kicked them out. Free country, right? Greatest land on earth. You worked, broke your back for your entire life. And as you are retired, trying to enjoy whatever's left of your days, the government's going to come take your home away because you can't make your yearly property taxes because home values have inflated so much that it's literally priced you out of your pension. You can't survive. You can't pay for groceries. You can't eat. I thought it was land of the free. You don't even own your own property. Please, somebody tell me, how can you possibly justify throwing out old people out of their homes because they can't make property tax payments because home values have shot up so much from what they paid for their homes that their pensions can no longer cover the property taxes? Wild. Hearing shit like that, dude, bothers me. This country owes you nothing, and you owe this country nothing. It doesn't care about you when you're down on your luck. It tells you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It only cares about companies. It's funny how there's too big to fail, how bankers can get bailed out, but you, the little guy, God forbid you break your arm and you can't work. You're ending up destitute on the streets and nobody's going to blink an eye. The government won't come and save you. The American middle class wasn't too big to fail. The lower class, we even swept under the rug. We forgot they exist, or we at least pretended they didn't. And welcome to the utopia we've built for ourselves today. We're voting for two parties that don't give a shit, that will pass the same legislation that benefits the same corporations that paid for their campaign fund. And you're wondering why more and more Americans say the American dream is dead. Over 50% of Americans now say the American dream is dead. Gen X is already telling you they need a miracle to retire. You're worse off than Gen X was. If they need a miracle, you need another dimension, because in this reality, it's just not going to happen for you.
I think, a lot of this anxiety is being influenced by inflation because everyone, for whatever reason, is getting sticker shock everywhere you go. And it's
everywhere.
I feel like we weren't really educated well when it comes to saving for your retirement. And this is what I'm thinking about. The many, many times over the years that I've gone to one of these retirement calculators to determine how much more I need to save, and been like, that's impossible. I have to give my whole paycheck away. So, and then you just go, well, what's the point? What's the point?
Pay healthcare, and you throw up your hands.
And so you throw up your hands and then you just give up and you proceed with whatever you were doing before, which really isn't working. But I don't think anyone really came to us and said, here's how you do it.
Who do we blame?
Their math was messed up. You blame politicians. He's asking, who do you blame? Politicians, man. The entire system of 401k is absolute garbage. What you're getting paid and what you need to survive after taxes is a big difference. And they want you to have kids, and you're supposed to keep up with rising home prices, rising car payments, rising healthcare, childcare costs, transportation costs, and then you have to put a sizable chunk of your paycheck aside into your 401k and hope that you have an employer that will match what you put in 1-to-1. And so that you get something sizable by the time you retire. That's not what's happening here, though. Most people don't get to put away anything in their 401k because they need every single penny they can get to live, to survive. Excuse me. You're not living, my friend. You're surviving. When you're paycheck to paycheck or you're one accident away from bankruptcy, you are surviving paycheck to paycheck.
Blame the boomers. They're responsible for everything. No, but I'm joking to my boomer friends who watch us on CBS
and our parents,
but our parents.
It's true, though.
And who are boomers? They I think there was an idea back then when we were born in the 60s that that the good times were here to stay, and so our parents for the first time were able to afford vacation homes, for example. Right? You can't afford a vacation home. I mean, I can't afford a vacation home, and they were doing that on teacher salaries. salaries.
Yeah.
And, what we're talking about now.
Do you hear that? I want you guys to understand how detached you are from the reality of your grandparent or your great grandparents. They had vacation homes, spare income for a second residence with a teacher's salary. I want you to understand just how much they stole from you. Every time you vote Team It, red or blue, know what they took from you. Pay attention.
Now is people who earn high incomes. The bottom line is there are people who earn high incomes and are still unable to do what you're suggesting.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if you are just...
When I had my business in the United States and I was making, I had jobs alone, just one job that was over $100,000. We're having a great year. I still can't afford a home. A vacation home, I would have to be earning multiple millions of dollars. I was making over $250,000 and it still wasn't enough. After taxes, after everything, $250,000 is no longer enough in the United States today. One of the last videos we did, I lived in a major metropolitan area and you needed $262,000 to just be comfortable. We're not talking excess like a vacation home. To have a vacation home today, you probably have to have an income of $750,000 to $1 million a year in order to afford something akin to what a teacher's salary got during your great-grandparents' day. That shit is crazy.
Just middle class and you are a teacher or you are a fireman and you have children. How much more difficult it is for them. Mm-hmm. So I'm not blaming the boomers, i.e. our parents, but there was a little bit of financial education that they missed when it came to educating us about other things.
Yeah, financial literacy is important. If there's nothing you take away from segment, just
Let's see what some of the comments say on this. I believe the retirement crisis will get even worse. Absolutely. Americans are going to get choked to death as time passes, as inflation soars, as dollars get debased, cost of living is going to spiral out of control, and you're on your fixed little retirement income, you're going to die slowly. Many struggle to save due to low wages, rising prices, and exorbitant rents. With homeownership becoming unattainable for middle-class Americans, they may not have a home to rely on for retirement either. You're going to be destitute out in the street. I'm happy I'll be retiring this year with almost $500,000, but I'm afraid my portfolio will not sustain a long retirement. The funds are likely to be depleted by expenses faster than my portfolio can recover through compounding returns, unless you're overseas. Parents really need to start talking to their kids about money at an early age and not make it a taboo subject. My husband and I start way too many sentences with, if we win the lottery. My boomer parents had a pension and Social Security for their retirement and couldn't teach me anything about IRAs or 401ks since they had no experience with them. And my public school education during home economics only covered savings and checking accounts. We Gen Xers had to learn everything on our own. Before easy access to information via web like current younger generations, I remember buying Jane Bryant Quinn's big book at a bookstore and subscribing to Money Magazine to try to educate myself. Then we had the S&P 500 peak early in our careers in 2001 and not hit the same level again until 14 years later. So investors my age didn't see big growth in retirement accounts until after 2014. It's been a heck of a ride and a test of the patience of Gen Xers. But going back to this comment here about the funds being depleted faster than the portfolio can recover them through compounding returns, that is why I'm telling you the American dream now on retirement is to go overseas. I did a video on the second channel, released it today. It pops up somewhere over here, man. It says why the American dream. It's a picture of me and my girl, why the American dream is leaving America. I mentioned earlier in the video, but I'm telling you, I just talk about the cost of living difference, the quality of life, the safety, the security, everything. It's so relevant to the fact that we cannot survive with our current salaries and forget about retirement in the United States. You will slowly be bled to death. But if you go overseas, your dollar seriously like triples in value against local currencies, quadruples or more sometimes, depending on the country you go to. Here in Bucharest, you can get $400, $500 apartment. You can groceries, everything all in. You could spend $1,000 or less. Seriously, $700 to $800 is all you would need to live out here. And this is the capital city. You take that pension and go somewhere else. And this is the guys over in the Southeast Asia, in the Philippines and Thailand, they're living on as low as I saw $500-$600 a month. It just depends how much extravagance you want to pay for, how high end you want your apartment to be, or how close to the center of town you like to be. But if you just go out further into the suburbs, or the regional cities even, infrastructure is still there and the prices prices depressed by over 50% at times. So you could easily live outside the city. I'm in the city center in an upscale area, but if you went outside the city center, you could easily do $300 a month, $350 a month. They come fully furnished, just like my place. Groceries are extremely cheap. You can eat out. Transportation, the Ubers cost a couple dollars. You don't need a car. You can almost walk everywhere. All your basic necessities will be covered. I don't know what home ownership is in some of the Eastern European countries, but the guys say in Thailand and other countries, you can buy and own condos. Condos only, not houses or land. But imagine buying a condo. They go for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. If you are working right now and you see home ownership as not being viable in your lifetime, perhaps it's time for you to look overseas where you can and are able to buy property. And that's where you're going to have to spend the rest of retirement. Some tropical island, man, with crystal clear water and beautiful women and perfect weather. It doesn't sound so bad, does it? And you get to own your own condo on like the 40th floor with an infinity pool view. We've seen it all. I've covered it on the channel, guys. That's literally, I think, what millions of Americans are going to have to do when they reach retirement. Now, for the young guys that are super lucky and got some form of remote work or some digital skills they can apply over on the internet, they're already leaving. They're already showing you the way. You just have to pay attention. Again, I cover it in my second channel, guys. If you haven't subscribed to it, click on any of these videos and it'll take you to it. Thank you for everybody that clicks. If you haven't joined us on our private community, we do calls multiple times a week, man, and we discuss topics like this as well as going overseas, women, dating, anything you could think of, marriage, divorce, all that stuff, and hold each other accountable and try to get ahead in life, one foot in front of the other, always improving. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on, retirement, money, income, salaries, man. It's a complete mess in the United States, and one of the major drivers of why I left, because I stared down the path of my life 10, 20, 30 years later, and retirement looked like a nightmare. But where I am now, and for all the reasons I mentioned in the videos on my second channel, I have a bright future now. It's completely different. So we'll see you guys later.